I have heard from so many people on the channel that they don't like going through their old journals because they are so filled with heartache and pain and regret. The record of their lives becomes an archive of their worst days. And to me, that feels like a lost opportunity. One of the most important things that we do in our journals is to process the difficult events in our lives, to do the hard work, to explore the problems that we have in our day-to-day. And I don't want to make light of that. I think that is one of the best uses of a journal that you can have. I think journaling has been used in therapy. But what if I was to say that there's a different way? I have heard from so many people on the channel that they don't like going through their old journals because they are so filled with heartache and pain and regret. The record of their lives becomes an archive of their worst days. And to me, that feels like a lost opportunity. It feels like you're missing a whole element. You're not getting the whole person. You're only getting the sadness and the regret. And so I really want to talk about capturing your life in a different way. And so over the last month, I have taken a slightly different approach to keeping my journal. I decided that I would pick a notebook. I picked a kind of an oversized watercolor paper notebook, but stay tuned if you're a writer. And I decided that in my notebook, I was going to do a little bit of writing and a little bit of art every single day. And for me, this captured a bunch of goals. It was a way to continue my writing practice, which I have been very attached to really for my whole life. But I was needing kind of a refresh. I was needing something to come at it a little differently. I was distracted by a lot of things in my life. And so I wanted to get back to that. And the art making piece of it was great because I wanted the art to inform the writing and the writing to inform the art. And I found that when I did this, it felt a little bit different. And as I filled my pages, I started to see some patterns and make some discoveries about the process that I found really heartening and fun and engaging. And as I built this particular notebook, I found that it was something that I not just want to look back on, but also I really actively enjoyed creating. It's not a record of my heartache. It's not a record of the worst days because it's not really engineered to be that. But it's still a very important part of my experience. And yes, there are some things in there that are a little darker, challenges I'm facing, down days. Everybody's got them. Having this kind of an approach can be very powerful because it isn't just an archive of your worst days. It is a more holistic view of your life. So here are some of the discoveries that I took away from this past month. The first is there is power in starting a new notebook. There is power in having a refresh, in naming it, in saying, I am going to do something for a month. I am going to do it every day, and I'm going to see where it takes me. There was power in just my mindset. I came at it with fresh eyes. I started looking for new inputs, and I really had a goal to complete the notebook that I picked. So I did pick a notebook that was only about 30 pages long, which meant that I had one page for every day of the month and then a couple of extra pages for like notes and things like that. So I think that that mindset shift cannot be underestimated. So if you're somebody who has spent a lot of time writing and feel like all you have to show for it is the sadness and the sad pages, this might be something to try. It might be something that's worthwhile. I also found that I really enjoy barnstorming through my photo library and finding gems, old photos that really drive memories. I love interpreting those photographs or pasting them into my journal or my diary. And I love to make art that responds to that, or just have that be the visual for the day. And then I write about that. And I have to say that memory driving creativity and creativity driving memory is a loop that I find very motivating, very comforting. And I feel like it's something that you might enjoy too. So as you go through this process, one of the key elements is that you try really hard not to judge yourself based on your creativity. Even those illustrations or those drawings or those paintings that are completely from the beginning of your practice, those should be things to treasure. Yeah, it may not be the perfect perspective. You may not get the color relationships perfect. Your line component may not be ideal. But it will become a treasure as you put all of the different component parts together and end up with a completed book. And I think that's one of the things that people sort of underestimate. You know, you do one drawing and you think, oh, this is terrible, it's not perfect. But you sort of miss that bigger opportunity, which is a chronicle over time. A collection of images becomes a much more powerful thing than just a single drawing. And it becomes part of your overall record that in time you'll look back on and actually be quite fond of. The notebook itself has really become an interesting and crucial artifact for me. It's almost like a portfolio, although I want to be careful with that word because I don't see anything as like a finished product. None of the drawings are intended to be things I would put on a gallery wall or anything I would put on my website to sell. But they're work that I feel represents a lot of my style. I feel like style is that which we do regularly. I think that's how people develop their style, is that they find the thing that works for them and they do it over and over again. Through practice, you find your style as opposed to trying to emulate or create a style all fresh. I mean, people can argue with that, but that's my take on it. You know, the notebook that I created this month is kind of a special thing to me now. The people who go through this process, they have also found something of value in compiling their memories in that kind of a way. Finally, I found that no day was perfect, whether it's the dog trying to get more attention or something going on at home that I have to deal with, or, I mean, let's not kid around. There's endless obstacles and distractions. But I really felt like this month I was able to mostly say, all right, let's do it anyway. Even if I only have 8 minutes, I'm going to write for 8 minutes. If I have 10 minutes to paint, I'm going to paint for 10 minutes. And that do it anyway attitude, this is something that I talked about in my live stream recently, has really been, I don't know, I feel like because I had this pace where I wanted to do this every single day, it was easier for me to be like, well, I'm just going to do it anyway because this is what I need to do. So I bring this up because one of the other frequent comments that I get on the channel is, my life is too boring. My life is too boring to keep a journal. Nothing happens. And that just makes me kind of sad, you know, because I feel like, A, you make your life extraordinary, but also you don't make it extraordinary through, you know, climbing giant mountains and taking trips around the world. I mean, some people do it that way. But you make your life extraordinary by noticing, by taking the time to think about what you value, to build habits that allow you to explore the things that really, really matter to you. And in that way, you can create a life that is truly extraordinary. And I think that this practice of doing a creativity reset or a creativity process, it doesn't have to be the one that I did this last month, although if you're interested, the link is in the thing below. It's free. You know, it's just a series of prompts, both for writing and for art. I think you can find the extraordinary in the everyday. And I think that's the way you have to think about it. if you want to keep this practice up. So listen, I feel like these two pieces of feedback that I repeatedly get on the channel, A, that I only write about the hard things and I go down spirals, and B, that my life is not extraordinary enough. I think one way, I mean, there are many ways to shift those modes of thinking, but one way to shift that mode of thinking is to do some kind of a creativity reset like the one I've just talked about today. I'd love to know your thoughts on whether there are other mechanisms you have had for breaking out of a rut like that. Having a daily prompt can be incredibly helpful. I like that the prompts speak to each other, the art and the writing and the writing and the art. And it's been an incredibly fun month. I also have to give a shout out to the many people who joined me on this, both on Substack and here on YouTube. There is a really lovely corner of the internet where people are sharing some of their spreads and talking about how it made them feel, taking risks with their art, maybe for the first time, drawing, painting. And I just want to give a shout out to that little community because it has been so much fun this month, and it has certainly kept me going and focused and curious. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I have had such a great month. I'm actually going to be doing a little less. I'm definitely not doing any lives in August. I will be doing a family vacation, a bunch of other personal stuff going on in August, but I will be back in September. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful, relaxing August and comes back in the fall with a very excited mindset and readiness to explore and create and do more with me here. So thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you watching. I hope there was something of value in this video. I look forward to hearing from you soon.